Well, hello and welcome to the June 1st, can you believe it? June 1st meeting of the Rotary Club of Columbus. How wonderful to look out here and see all of you, and for those of you joining us online, a warm welcome to you as well. I wanted to make a quick announcement that fellow Rotarian Billy Cunningham fell this weekend and was injured, but he is recovering. He'll probably miss 4 to 6 meetings, but just keep Billy in your prayers. Now would you please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And now I would like to ask Wayne Anthony to bring us today's invocation in accordance with his faith tradition. Wayne.
Thank you, President Laurie. Walter Garrett could not be here today because he was exposed to COVID and had heavy on his heart a prayer that we might find common ground, common good, and common goodwill, and it began in Rotary and spread around the world. So will you join with me in prayer? Oh God, thank you for all of these who give time and energy and effort every week to do good and to make a good difference in the world in which we live. Help us to be harbingers of positive comments, communication, comfort, and at the same time, be witnesses to all that you can do when we all unite in doing what you ask us. Bless this meeting and those who are part of it. We make our prayer in your name. Amen. The can, remember?
Where are the cans? I don't think we have any rattles in there. Now it's my pleasure to call on Fray McCormick to introduce today's visiting Rotarians and guests.
President Laurie and fellow Rotarians, we have a number of guests today. Ish Espada has as his guest Danielle Henson Moore. She is a realtor with Keller Williams Realty. Welcome. Stan Wright has 2 guests today, Sabrina Wright, his wife, and his friend, Dr. Willie Perry. So welcome, y'all. Jimmy Elder has his son, Johnny, here today. Welcome, Johnny. You've been a guest a lot. It might be time to, we might need to get you signed up by now. Or are you just trying to eat lunch on your dad all these different times? So, Marquette McKnight has Niecy Wells. Niecy is the Executive Director of Public Relations and Communications at Columbus Tech. So, welcome. And George Flowers has a familiar face to all of us. His brother, Tom Flowers, is also the brother of our speaker, David, today. Tom is a former member of our club, so welcome. Good to see you back. And then other visiting Rotarians, and we're going to put some of these together. Ken Townsend is here from the North Columbus Club, but also in his role as trustee of GRSP. And then we have some familiar young faces back this time. We've got Tammy and Mackie Peterhirda. You may remember Tammy was our visiting or GRSP student in 2012-2013. Mackie was the North Columbus visiting GRSP student this past year. And then we also have Sebastian Villamolina, who was here with us in 2015-2016. So we have the Colombian contingency here today. So bienvenidos, amigos. So that's all. So thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you, Fray. As you know, one of my favorite parts each week is welcoming and honoring a military guest, and so now it's my pleasure to call on Mike Smajd to please introduce today's Colonel Ralph Puckett, Jr. Soldier of the Week.
President Laurie and fellow Rotarians, it's really my honor and privilege to introduce to you this afternoon First Sergeant Christopher Beauchamp. And First Sergeant Beauchamp has an extensive bio. He is, to me, in a way, a soldier's soldier. He has been in a number of different types of military units, something that I didn't know they still use the term, everything from straight leg units to mechanized to airborne ranger units. And he started out right out of high school. He joined the Army and attended infantry one station unit training here at Fort Benning back in 2004. And he's done just about everything you can do, I guess, as an infantryman. He went to Fort Hood and served as a Bradley Fighting Vehicle Section Sergeant. He's been a Ranger instructor up in North Georgia at a beautiful place known as Dahlonega, where he instructed over 1,100 students in military mountaineering and combat patrol techniques. He went on to serve with the 101st Airborne Division at Fort Campbell as a platoon sergeant, but he was in the 2nd Battalion of the 506th Infantry Regiment. And if you recognize that unit, it's because that was the unit of the Band of Brothers that historically started in the early 40s. He's been stationed at Fort Benning for a while, and while here, he has served as a first sergeant with the Infantry Basic Officer Leaders Course, and now he's assigned to the Headquarters and Headquarters Company, and he has to keep track of the follow-on training for about 600 lieutenants, infantry lieutenants, which he tells me can be hard-headed folks, and it gets them to their next unit of assignment. He's been deployed 5 times, twice to Afghanistan, twice to Iraq, and once to Saudi Arabia. He has a number of military courses. He has an extensive amount of military education, and as you might expect, all the leader courses, the Master's Leader Course Ranger School, Airborne School, Basic Military Mountaineering, and one that I hadn't heard before, Anti-Terrorism Evasion Driving Course, which you can imagine how you could use that. He's received a number of awards. He's been awarded the Bronze Star Medal twice, the Meritorious Service Medal also twice, and the Army Commendation Medal 4 times. Of course, as you can see, he wears the Combat Infantryman's Badge and one that might even be harder to earn, and that's the Expert Infantryman's Badge. He's married to his wife, Kaylee, who is from Georgia, and they have 2 little girls, Ralston, who is 6, and how do you say that? Renesmee, who is 3. And I want to, at this time, give you some gifts from our club. First of all, we have this book, which you may already have, but this is a copy that's been personally inscribed to you by Colonel Puckett. And you know who Colonel Puckett is. He was a member of our club and a recent award winner of the Medal of Honor. This book is being presented to you to commemorate your visit today, and it's given by Rotarian Edgar Chancellor in memory of his father, Major James Edgar Chancellor, Jr., who served during World War II with the 448th Bombardment Group in the U.S. Army Air Force. And so that's for you. And here is a card in here that talks about Colonel Puckett's Medal of Honor earned during the Korean War. So that's for you. And then also we have the certificate listing you as the Colonel Ralph Puckett Jr. Soldier of the Week. So that's yours. And then this is a Rotary coin, Rotary Challenge coin, that's yours to keep and have with you. But then also, one that's exciting for you and your wife, and maybe your little girls, Passport to the Arts. You have tickets for 2 to the River Center, the Columbus Symphony Orchestra, the National Infantry Museum. I think those are the paid attractions, and the Columbus State University Theater Department and the Springer Opera House. That's for you to use, and keep that with you. Please join me in a warm Rotary Club of Columbus welcome for First Sergeant Beauchamp.
Ladies and gentlemen, Mike, again, thank you very much. You've opened my eyes to what the Rotary Club does. Beginning to spend about 30 minutes before everybody kind of trickled in talking to Mike, really kind of opened my eyes and understanding what Rotary Club does and what it fights to achieve to do. And as a good infantry guy, I always have to do like my last second homework. So as I was reading up, I was like, okay, what do I really need to know and everything. And what I really thought was amazing was your cups in the middle of the tables. And reading about what the background was for it and everything, I said, okay, well, I'm not coming and looking like a fool. So I knew I had to come, and I wanted to participate with y'all in that. And to me, being able to give back to other people is really what the important thing is in life. Mike asked me, he said, hey, what are you doing when you get done? And I said, well, I guess I'm going to have to grow up a little bit, but I don't know. The only thing I do know is I want to go teach. So hopefully I can find something to teach in that, but it's because I believe in giving back. And Mike telling me and talking with Dick and Thad at the table, telling me what the Rotary Club is all about. It's really humbling to be in your presence and to be honored by you. So thank you very much, and I definitely appreciate it.
First Sergeant Beauchamp, I suspect you're maybe a future Rotarian. Just listening to you and you're talking about service, you would make a wonderful Rotarian. We're so glad you were here with us and hope you will come back and visit with us again soon. At this time, I would like to ask Barbara Smith, who was the GRSP host family back in 2012, 2013, and then also Ian Bond, who is our District 6900 GRSP director, to make some special introductions and presentations. Ian?
Thank you, President Laurie, fellow Rotarians. Well, here they are, aren't they beautiful? Trustee Ken Townsend, alumnus Sebastian Villamilina, alumna Tammy Piedihitra, and of course the inimitable and beautiful Barbara Smith, who just does such a fantastic job coordinating the Georgia Rotary Student Program in our club. I'd like to ask, please, Tracy Fisher and Fray McCormick to join me for some Will Watt presentations. They have generously donated $1,000 to the Georgia Rotary Student Program Foundation, which is what helps keep this program healthy. And we've asked Tammy and Sebastian, alumni, to present these awards to Tracy and Frey. So who have we got for, okay? Tracy. Ladies first. And Sebastian will present the plaque to Frey. Oops. Wonderful. Thank you so much, Tracy and Frey. Now, we've seen Sebastian pops up occasionally over the last year or two, so we do keep tabs a little bit easier on him. But there's been a couple or three significant things have happened since we last saw him. So I'm going to ask Sebastian to come and just give us a little update.
Thank you, Ian. Thank you, everybody. You know, I was asked where home is, and I'm from Colombia, but this is home. It really is. So coming back here, it really feels like home. I've been here for a while back. I just got my MBA at Georgia State University, so when I graduated with my MBA, I came back here to Columbus. I've been working with Mr. Piesold's Valley Hospitality Company. I'm the AGM right now at the Marriott across the street. And that's been a very interesting new career path for us. I just got married to my long-term girlfriend. Thank you. Natalia, I should have brought her here, but, well, I'll hear from that later. She just got her MBA at CSU a few weeks ago. So it's been a very, very rewarding past few years, and again, you know, coming back here, it's humbling. It's a reminder of how everybody here has treated me and has helped me, you know, go out and achieve my dreams. So what I am really is a big testament to what GRSP does, to what Rotary does, and that is all thanks to you guys. Thank you all for your support, and thank you for helping me make me feel home. It really is. It's a pleasure. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Sebastian. Well, it's a little longer since we last saw Tammy. She visited us literally about 3 weeks before the world shut down. So she's going to give us a little update on what's happening with her.
Yes. Okay. Since I promised I wouldn't take more than 5 minutes, I'll just keep it on here on the watch. Okay. So first, it feels so nice to be back. Thank you for having me here. It's really, as Sebastian says, it just feels like home. And at the end, home is where the people you love are. So it just expands. It's right in here. So thanks for that. It's wonderful. So in this 5 minutes, I really wanted to say just one thing. And I think I can summarize it in thank you. And I was just so glad to hear before in the prayer that you said, you know, thank you for all these people that do good every day. And I was thinking, oh, that's all of you. So that's nice. So yeah. Well, I'm here because now, after 10 years, my sister, Maki, had the opportunity to be also part of the GRSP program. And, well, I thought, what a nice occasion just to, you know, kind of pick her up, even though she's going to Colombia. I'm going back home to Germany, where I'm living now. And I just wanted to let you know that in these 10 years since GRSP, what has happened a little bit with my life is I finished my career in my studies in economics. Afterwards, I worked for some time in Germany. Then I worked for some time in Colombia, where I had one of the most challenging experiences where our family business burned, and we actually recovered it, and it was just very challenging, but also we learned so much from it. Afterwards, I finished my master thesis and my master in Sweden, and now I finally have my dream job in Germany, where I'm working with sustainability, generating sustainable energy with wind turbines. I even asked Ken Townsend, I was like, where are the wind turbines here? We need to fix that. Okay. But what I really wanted to tell you is that what I am today and the dreams that I have reached and the plans I have for the future, well, they wouldn't be the same if I wouldn't have joined you 10 years ago. With GRSP, I really GRSP, but the whole thing. So it's not just the students, it's not just the university, it's the Rotarians, is those relationships, is what we can learn from all of you, from this incredible drive you have just to do good because it's fun, because it's nice, because it feels good, because why not? And I just wanted to remind you that keep doing that, because you have an impact not only in the person who is in the GRSP program, but all the people around them. I mean, through that program, I really learned to love the diversity of this world, because I got to meet you and I got to meet different GRSPs from all over the world. And even though we didn't really understand each other most of the time, even though we were speaking English, but everyone was coming from such a different culture, that it was challenging just to understand what the other person was really understanding, what the other person was really thinking, what was their context, why did they think something was good or something was bad, based on their background, on their own experiences. And through that, the world just changes. It's just a very diverse world, and through that, you can just learn so much from different perspectives, from different cultures. And thanks to you and giving me that opportunity, and the same for Sebastian and for Maki, and from your current Colombian GRSP, Heisha, who left some days ago, we get to experience that. So thank you very much, and I'm really looking forward to what is going to happen to those 10 years that Maki is about to live. So thanks a lot. Thank you.
Thank you, Tammy. What a treat. That was certainly a treat. And please come back in 10 more years with Maki and give us another update. Just have a couple of announcements today before we get to our program. First of all, our next in-person Rotary Happy Hour will be tomorrow evening at Pure Taqueria up on North Veterans Parkway. It'll be from 5:30 to 7:30. There'll be some yummy, yummy food and maybe a few margaritas flowing. We'll see. And also, would you please consider signing up for Career Day? We will be in 8 of the different middle schools in Muskogee County, and we'll be doing it over a 2-week period beginning June the 13th. And all you need to do is just share about 15-20 minutes about your profession, your background, your career path to the students. And it's always a very rewarding experience. And so we have the sign-up sheet in the bag. So joining me today at the head table is Wayne Anthony, who brought us our invocation. And now it's my pleasure to ask Past President George Flowers to introduce today's speaker.
President Laurie, fellow Rotarians and guests, I'm honored to introduce today's Rotary guest speaker, Dr. David Flowers. David went to work with Piedmont Physicians Group in 2011 and has served as the pediatric hospitalist at Piedmont Regional since 2014. Prior to working for Piedmont, David was in private practice from 2001 to 2011 and at the Columbus Clinic from 1998 to 2001. David returned to his hometown Columbus upon completion of his pediatric residency at the Medical College of Georgia in Augusta. David got his undergraduate degree at Davidson, go Wildcats, and he got an AS from Columbus College and his MD from MCG. David has served in several leadership capacities throughout his 24-year medical career, including a stint as Chief of Staff at the Medical Center and service on the CRMG Board of Columbus Regional Healthcare. He has generously given his time on 4 medical mission trips, once to Romania, twice to the Ukraine, and most recently to Kenya in 2017, where he went with our own Chuck Hasty. David is married to Sonny, his father to Sarah, John, Thomas, Skylar, and Sophie. He has 1 grandson, Beckett, and 1 on the way. When he is not practicing medicine, he is a true Renaissance man, with his myriad of interests, including soccer, music, pottery, stonework, antiques, bargains, birding, natural beauty, and today's topic, snakes. On any given day off, you can catch him on his tractor with his binoculars in one hand. He loves sharing his passions with his family, and Tom and I are honored to call him brother. Fellow Rotarians, please help me welcome Dr. David Flowers.
Thank you, George. I had to give him a CV. And that was just an odd experience for me, giving your brother your CV. They asked for a picture too, and I said, no, that's where I draw the line. You should know what I look like, George. As George mentioned, I'm at Piedmont here at Midtown. There are 2 of us over there that do inpatient pediatrics. We are one of the few children's hospitals in Georgia. Most of you all know Children's Hospital of Atlanta. Macon has one as well. And then there's one over in Savannah. Having done this, the topic I'm going to introduce is snake bites. And every summer, we have the pediatric population, somebody coming in with a venomous snake bite. Oddly enough, since the pandemic began, we have had 0 admissions for snake bites. People are outdoors. You know, the pandemic has made people get outside. They've had to avoid crowds, so fishing, hunting, walks, nature preserves, those kind of things have been really, really huge here during the pandemic, but I've not had one child come in with snake bite during this time, and my partner and I kind of look at each other and say, what's going on, you think? Finally, we thought, well, the snakes don't want to get COVID, so there's a couple of snakes getting together, and they say, see that kid over there? I think he's got COVID, so I'm not biting him. Thank you all for having me. This is a massively prestigious club and group in Columbus, and I appreciate the invitation. Why do we fear snakes? It was a study that came out and printed in Life Science in 2008 that reported really no significant differences between adults and 3-year-old kids when they were shown images with other pictures of other animals. The kids were just as likely to pick the snake out of that picture than the adult was. And these kids, most of them have never encountered a snake before. They'd never seen one, much less in the wild. So the premise here was that there's something in our psyche, something in our DNA that makes us recognize a snake. The fear of snakes is cross-cultural. It's practically in every part of the globe, even in those parts of the globe where snakes aren't native or do not exist. Culture has magnified the genetic recognition and avoidance of snakes as experienced by our pervasive fear of them. You all who have been to the Sistine Chapel probably recognize this painting by Michelangelo. The snake, of course, in Genesis is depicted as Satan himself, and this became part of that pervasive fear as the locus of sin. Stained glass windows depict this scene as well. So anybody that was raised in the church, most likely you've seen a scene just like this one. In Kenya, the Kenyans take a village approach to snakes. You've heard the expression, it takes a village to raise a child. Well, it also takes a village to kill a snake. Whenever anybody sees a snake, the whole village comes out, seeks it out, finds it, and kills it. And this was our group in Kenya. That's Chuck Hasty over there on the right. So snakes have come to symbolize Satan, evil, anything bad that there is in life. There's usually a snake behind it. Venomous snakes, for sure, are poisonous. They are potentially lethal, and therefore must be respected. A child, 8-year-old child that was bitten out in Oklahoma, was quoted to say, "If you don't recognize it, then don't mess with it." The premise here is that recognition, identification, is key to not getting bitten. So what do we have around here? I'm going to focus on the Columbus area. We have three different types of rattlesnakes. The timber, which is the most common. The pygmy, as the name implies, is the smallest. And then we have the eastern diamondback. We're kind of at the northern range of that. Fort Benning has eastern diamondbacks, so sir, please be careful while you're out in the field. The all well-known water moccasin, which the Columbus cottonmouths were named after, and then the copperhead. Coral snakes were also within their range, but we're at the very tip north of their range. They're more of a coastal plain snake. This is not a pit viper. It really has to gnaw on you in order to give you the venom, but it is the most venomous snake that we have. So what kind of identification marks would you be wanting to see to know whether that snake was poisonous or not? The classic triangular or spade-shaped head, the fatter body, girth, size. I don't know who gets close enough to see this, but the elliptical pupils. And then there's also, again, how close do you need to be to see these? They're little pits between the eyes and the nostrils, hence the name pit viper, and this is the infrared organ that allows it to detect heat and seek its prey. So let's look at some pictures here real quickly. This is a timber rattlesnake. We have a farm in Seal. They're very prominent out there. Even in 38-degree weather, you got to be careful. This one was under a stone in a November morning. This is a 5-foot member of the same species. They get really fat and really long. This is a very venomous snake. Again, this is at our driveway in Fortson. They can be right here in town. If you live in Midland, watch out. This is the timber rattler. Again, another timber rattler, a little bit grayer looking color down on the coastal plain, but this is at our farm in Seal. This one was only about 18 inches long. The pygmy rattlesnake, the smallest species we have locally here, gets to be about 18 inches long, but is quite feisty. They're aggressive if you get in their territory. The rattle on it is a very high-pitched buzz. So if you hear that, it's not a cicada. If it's on the ground, it's probably a pygmy rattler. Coloring, very, very similar to this non-venomous snake. Often gets confused with the rattlesnake. It can even flatten out its head, may even strike at you, but this is the harmless southern hognose snake. Real interesting guy. If we don't fall for his bluff when he does that, he'll roll over and play dead. And then this is the big daddy. This is the eastern diamondback. Again, we're at the kind of northern range for it, but these can be 7 feet long, and this is a very, very potent poison. Our old friend, the water moccasin, as its name implies, it loves waterways, your creeks, ponds. The color variations of these are pretty extreme. You can have them look almost coal black, or then very coppery or rusty looking pattern. If you see this, you're in trouble. This is its warning strike posture. If you find yourself in this position, don't make a sudden move. You just want to back away slowly as you can and hope it goes its own way. Often confused with water moccasins, I hear this all the time, is the water snake. We have the Midland water snake, northern banded water snake around here. They're plentiful at creek sides, lake sides. They can be fat. They can almost look like they have a triangular head, so it's easy to get them confused, but it's that round pupil. If you get close enough to see and see that round pupil, you know you're safe. Tongue in cheek. Last but not least, of the pit vipers is our old friend the copperhead. This is, again, is in our driveway in Fortson. Seal, Alabama. The reason I show you a second picture here is this has just got the really, really classic chocolate Hershey's Kiss pattern on the back. If you see that Hershey's Kiss, you know that this is a dangerous guy. And then the coral snake. If you look to the map on the right, you can see it just barely comes up into the Muskogee County area. In all of my woodland travels and stories that I've swapped, I've never heard of a coral snake in our area. One of my biology friends who works at Fort Benning tells me they do see them down there occasionally, though. This is a neurotoxic snake, very potent venom, but they are not aggressive. They won't strike you like a pit viper will, and they literally have to kind of gnaw on you with their back teeth in order to inject their venom. A couple of snakes that often get confused with the coral snake because of the coloring pattern, the scarlet king snake and the milk snake. These are both very docile, very beneficial snakes. We've had scarlet king snakes at our farm. People love them as pets because you can handle them and they're just very, very gentle. But make sure that's what it is before you pick it up. All right, so quickly, we get about 7,000 to 8,000 venomous snake bites in the United States every year. And of those, only 5 to 6 are lethal. Can anybody guess who the majority of those 7,000 to 8,000 are? It's people that actually milk the venom. The snake handlers, I call them. People who work in labs, have their own boutique venom industry. There's big money in that, but these guys, girls, are the ones who get bitten the most frequent. When you break it down outside of that profession, it's toddlers and adolescent boys, okay? And you can, common sense will tell you why. Adolescent boys love to take risks. They love to show people how cool they are. Well, watch me pick up this snake, and here they are in the emergency room. There are no venomous snakes in Hawaii, Rhode Island, and Alaska in case you're thinking of relocating. So, rattlesnakes have the most morbidity and mortality. Morbidity meaning those who get bitten suffer the most but don't necessarily die. Copperheads make up the largest number of venomous bites. So we see most kids around here are bitten by copperhead. In the past 5 years, our numbers at Piedmont, we've had mostly copperhead bites, less likely rattlesnake bites, and about an equal number of water moccasin bites. Again, toddlers, early school age kids, both boys and girls alike, and then adolescent boys. So the key to prevention, and this is what I try to stress to our parents, pull out a book, look it up on Google, show your child what a poisonous snake in our area looks like. Show them what these identifying features are. And then talk to them about where to go and not to go as far as where snake habitat is. I do not go to the farm and do anything out in the woods or the fields without my snake boots on. It's anybody here in the insurance industry? Tom, would you agree that it's a good insurance policy to buy a pair of snake boots? About $150, and then I don't really worry about it. I don't go inviting trouble, but when my snake boots are on, that's kind of out of my head. Snakes, where do you find snakes? Snakes are going to follow the food, okay? If you got a barn with goat feed or horse feed in it, you're going to find snakes. If you got chickens with coops, you're going to find snakes. Somebody here today that got hit by a snake? Okay. She's got chickens. If you find them in your house, you probably got mice, okay? They're just following the food. They're doing what comes naturally. They're not in there to try to spook anybody. So bird feeders, they love to sit under bird feeders and watch the birds, okay? So they're going to follow the food. If you can minimize, where you're keeping your food, you minimize your pest problem, your mice, chances are you're not going to have snakes. So what happens if you get bitten? We hope if you get bitten and you don't know what you got bitten by, you're going to come to the ER anyway. Chances are you got bitten by a non-poisonous snake. But if you can identify the snake, that makes all the difference in the world on progression of treatment, okay? Call 911. The gold standard for treatment is the antivenom. You got to go get the antivenom if you get hit by a poisonous snake. And every minute is going to count, so don't wait around, if you get bitten to see if you're going to have symptoms or not, okay? You got to assume that every snake is poisonous unless it's absolute that otherwise that it's not. A picture is worth 1,000 words, so if you have your phone and can, take a picture of the thing. Now this next slide might be a little funny for some of y'all. CDC guidelines for first aid. Number 1, remain calm. Who here is going to remain calm if you get bitten by a snake? I had to chuckle, and I almost didn't put that on the slide, but it's part of the CDC guideline. Lay or sit down and keep the bite extremity above your heart, okay? Remove rings or watches. Above or below? I'm sorry, below. Okay. Remove rings or watches. You're paying attention.
Somebody said
You're paying attention, okay. Because the swelling can be very, very quickly, and then they'll have to cut those pieces off. Wash the bite with soap or water, cover with a dry cloth, and then you might, if you have access to a pen or a marker, mark the leading edges, because that's going to let us know how quickly this poisonous effect is progressing. Things you shouldn't do. Don't go get the snake and bring it with you. And I'll tell you why. It is funny, but I'll tell you why. 25% of bites are dry bites. You don't get injected with poison, even if a pit viper strikes you. You got a 1 in 4 chance. So the lesson here is if you get bitten and then you go try to kill the snake, a lot of people get bitten again. And all of a sudden, that snake injects you with poison. So if you can kill it and scoop it up with something, that's fine, but don't physically handle the snake. Don't wait for symptoms to appear before seeking medical attention. I already said that. Don't apply a tourniquet. Okay? Despite what you may have heard, don't cut the wound. Don't try to suck the poison out of the wound. Don't apply ice or immerse in icy water. Don't drink ethanol as a painkiller. Okay? You know, you've all seen the old Western movies where the guy gets bitten by the rattlesnake and says, "Whiskey." So, no ethanol. Don't take any aspirin, ibuprofen, or naproxen. These are all blood thinners. That poison is going to cause an anticoagulant effect, and you're going to bleed anyway. And I had never heard this one, but don't try electric shock. Okay. So I wanted to give you a little case study before I finish up here about what not to do. We just kind of went through this. But this gentleman here, this is an obituary from 1951, and that's my grandfather, down at the farm in Seal, Alabama. He had a snake bite kit with him. He got bitten down in his garden. Fortunately, his wife was down there with him, so she was able to drive him on a 2-lane, very dangerous old 431 all the way to Columbus. Used to take about 40 minutes then. Now I can get to the farm in about 20. But he had a snake kit with him there, and he did all the right things for 1951. He put a tourniquet around it. He lanced the wound. They had a little suction device. He pulled the poison out. And none of that worked. My grandfather died in 3 days. There's the death certificate there. According to the family history, antivenom was given at the hospital. He went to St. Francis Hospital. Actually, he first went to his personal doctor. And can you imagine the look on his personal doctor when he walked in the door and said, "I've been bitten by a snake. Go to the ER, go to the ER." So he went to the ER, he got antivenom, but he died anyway. Now my dad, who was at Columbia at the time in medical school, thought maybe he had an anaphylactic shock to the antivenom, and that's what did it. Nobody knows, okay? My point is he did all the things he was supposed to do. This is a picture in the Smithsonian, and this is kits in the Smithsonian Institute. It was marketed in the 1940s, and this has to be identical to everything he may have used. It's got the tourniquet, the lance, the suction device. So the point here is that we've come a long way in venomous snake bites. The key is get to the emergency room, get to the hospital, get the antivenom. That's what's going to curb any morbidity and certainly is going to curb mortality. This is what we use at Piedmont. It's called Antivip. It's made from snake venom. They take it and put it in the lab, and it builds up antibodies to the toxin. You get this in the hospital. If you need antivenom, you'll be admitted. They don't give it in the emergency room and let you go home. You'll be in at least for a day or two. And the indications to get this are any kind of systemic symptoms, high heart rate, weakness, dizziness, breathing problems, local swelling beyond 2 major joints, and then a coagulopathy, which is a bleeding problem. Okay? If you show signs in your laboratory work that you're going to have a clotting problem, they're going to give you this. My biggest challenge in peds has been convincing parents that their child who got bit doesn't need the antivenom. They don't meet the criteria. And they're, "Doc, you got to give them the antivenom." Well, it's not indicated in a lot of the cases. They'll have a little local reaction, but that's it. But of all the things we see, motor vehicle traumas, seizures, kids with meningitis, when a snake bite comes in, it's drama, okay? It is on. Very minimal side effects that can't be dealt with in the hospital to antivenom. Yes, people have allergic or anaphylactic reactions, but we have all the rescue drugs we need right there. So there are no absolute contraindications to get the antivenom. You get the antivenom if you meet the criteria. There are costs, though, so hold your breath here. Antivenom is expensive. There are two kinds of antivenom approved in the United States, the Crofab, which we used to use, and now the Antivip. A 2-vial pack wholesale, okay, this is what the hospital pays for, is a little over $7,600. The minimum a child's going to get when they come in is 5 vials, okay? So they're already up to the $35,000 to $40,000 mark of what the hospital paid, not what the hospital's going to charge you. Plus, you're paying for the lab work, the hospitalization, the doctor's fees. These are huge bills, folks, okay? But I don't know any parents that's going to say don't get it, okay? And that's the beauty of this, because it works every time. Questions? Yes, sir.
Do we have the microphone? We usually wait on the microphone.
Oh, I could remember, you've got the snake bite kit from the 40s and 50s. I can remember being a Boy Scout in the 80s, and part of our first aid checklist was that snake bite kit.
Yes, sir.
What was the aha moment or something that happened that says, hey, this thing isn't a really good idea?
I believe it's been only in like the last 10 years. When I first started researching this, and that wasn't until 2015 when I became a hospitalist, because I didn't treat snake bites in my office, and I never had any of my own private patients who were bitten by a snake that needed to be in the hospital. But when I started researching this after 2015, I went, oh, wow, we're not using tourniquets anymore. And I didn't know that. You don't want to impede the blood flow, okay? You still want blood flow to the area, dilute out some of that toxic effect, okay? The lancing, again, was the same issue. 2015, that was a new piece of information for me. So things have changed. Yes, sir.
I live up on a river, and I've always heard that one type of snake, when he swims through the water, will keep his head down, and the other will look up out of the water. Is there any truth to that?
I was telling my brother, I'm glad we aren't a bunch of second graders, because we all have our snake stories. And I had heard that as well, but I have witnessed myself water moccasin and the timber rattler. Timber rattlers love water, you guys, so don't think it's only water moccasins out there. I have seen both of them come across the lake with their head up, but I've also seen them just their whole body submerged and just the tip of their head up out of the water. So I think the snake does whatever it wants to. and I don't mind if it does. Yes.
Sir, your speech is timely, I guess for me, because I just killed a 4.5-footer yesterday. And the snake had 3 fangs. Have you seen that?
So that sounds like a mutant. And in all of my nature adventures over the years, I've encountered, frogs with 3 back legs. You see albino deer. You guys may have seen those in the woods. I think that was probably just a malformation.
Right.
I don't hear that commonly, but nature's full of freaks,
Another question. Every year we get rattlesnake vaccine for our dogs.
Mm-hmm.
The vaccine, they say, is modeled, it was taken from the western diamondback, which is not exactly the same thing as some of the poisonous snakes, but a local vet did claim that it definitely did some good for them if they got hit with it.
So that,
Is there any future for a human vaccine?
I've not heard of anything or seen anything in my research. I actually gave a longer version with technical pharmacological stuff to the hospital in February and again last year. I haven't seen anything coming through the pipeline. The antivenom has been so successful, expensive but successful, and whatever was going on early in 2019 got derailed, okay, by coronavirus. All the kinds of research, most of the stuff is in the vaccine industry at least. So everything has kind of been put on hold. But the point that you made about the Western Diamondback vaccine for your dog, the Antivip is made in Tennessee, but it's made from 3 different pit vipers, one of which is not even native to the southeastern United States. There's a western rattlesnake and something from South America. I'm not recalling off the top of my head. But the cross coverage of those antivenoms have been studied really, really hard and work really well for our local flora that we have here. So yeah, I had that same issue when I was first reading about them. Why are we using something that doesn't even live around here? But it works really well.
Is it true that the baby snakes, the small snake, young snakes, will excrete more venom in you than an adult snake?
I knew somebody was going to ask that question. And the answer is the baby snakes can't regulate the amount of flow. They're going to bite and just release everything they've got. The older that they get, they're a little more select. And I think over time, the snake kind of learns when it needs to use its poison, the full load, partial load, none at all, and when it doesn't. And that's kind of the conservation of energy that biological beings go through as they get out of that early developing age to a more mature age. Okay. So. Hey, Edgar.
What's the time frame, critical time frame to get help?
So that's a great question. The recommendation is as soon as you can, because, and the reason that is because it's dependent on a lot of things. The type of snake, the amount of poison that may have been injected, dry bite versus 75% chance that you may have gotten some poison, and then where anatomically exactly that is. The more proximal to the body, particularly the rattlesnake, which has neurotoxins, the more proximal to the body, the more chances you are of having severe morbidity from that. One of our ER docs here, pediatric emergency room docs, worked in Charleston for a number of years at MUSC. They had an 8-year-old young man come in who had been hit twice in the calf by a timber rattler, and the child was literally in shock with no respirations. The 30 minutes it took him to get to the emergency room, from bite to the ER. He required 46 vials, was in the hospital for 7 weeks, lost his ability to swallow. The neurotoxins took away his diaphragmatic function, his swallowing function. He had to be retrained on how to eat and speak, but gained full recovery. So the venom is a miracle. It really is. The antivenom.
One question over here.
Yes.
All right, some of you in here know I'm from Blakely, by God, Georgia, so
wow.
This is a story I have. We used to go out as youngins, and we'd have a tent stake and make a noose on one, and and we'd catch moccasins and copperheads and all that stuff and try to get them to fight in a refrigerator box. But this is a good thing to know, and this didn't happen to me, thank God. It happened to one of my buddies. Went down fishing by a creek, saw a rattlesnake, pinched his head with a fork of a tree, and took a pair of pliers and pulled his fangs out so it couldn't strike, and threw it in the ice chest. And at the end of the day, when they went home with the fish, and the mama came out and the sisters came out, reached in the cooler to pull it back out. And guess what? Those fangs grow back in a relatively short period of time. So he got struck twice on his left arm from a day's fishing. So just thought I'd warn people on that.
A teenage boy? Yeah, teenage boy, okay.
Thank you. This is just a quick comment. When I was a teenager, I have a good friend that has a farm in Seal. And we were down there, and I walked under a bush, and I hear this bzzz. It was a very loud buzzing noise. I didn't know what it was. And so I hollered to my buddy, and he says, "Rattler." And I immediately just jumped backwards I didn't know where it was. I was just lucky when I did. But anyway, it's not always the stereotypical rattle that you may hear on TV. It didn't sound like a rattlesnake at all.
Thank you all.
David, they were definitely interested, because for this group to stay this long, it has to be a topic they're interested in. So thank you for that. We're so glad you came. We all learned a ton. And we will place a children's book inscribed with your name in the local public library to commemorate your visit. So please remember that there will be a replay of today's program on Facebook, and you'll also receive a YouTube link. And just a warm welcome to all of our visitors, particularly First Sergeant Beauchamp. Nice to have you here, and all of our former GRSP students. It's wonderful to have you here. And you won't want to miss next week's program, when we will have our local Columbus Fire Chief, Sal Scarpa, as our speaker. And then right before you leave, please sign up for Career Day. So until we meet again next week, let's continue to make a difference.